Now, dozens of top former intelligence officials are urging members of the Senate to confirm Donald Trump's nominee for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. It comes as she faces scrutiny from some senators who've been quite critical of her intelligence expertise. Batya, why is she under a lot of pressure here? Because I note that she's a military officer, she's got more than 20 years of service and multiple combat deployments. Do you think that she will get this role?
It's going to be tight. And the reason for that is because Tulsi Gabbard represents a threat to the worst parts of the entrenched deep state. Tulsi Gabbard is a woman who has said that her core belief when it comes to foreign policy is when it comes to fighting terrorism, she is a hawk. And when it comes to counterproductive wars of regime change, she is a dove. This is the America First foreign policy. And of course, the Forever Wars crew, which runs very deep in the deep state, absolutely hate this idea that there would be wars that are none of our business, that we should absolutely not be engaged in, or on the flip side, that we should have a zero tolerance policy for terrorism. They like it the opposite. They love to negotiate with terrorists, and they love to get involved in all sorts of, wars that have nothing to do with us and turn people who are not our enemies into our enemies. The other thing that Tulsi Gabbard has been very vocal about is FISA warrants. Amazingly, she doesn't believe that the government should be spying on United States citizens. Well, this is a step too far for many of our elected officials. And honestly, her best asset may be the thing that ultimately sinks her in this race. I really hope she gets confirmed. She's a brilliant woman, a patriot, a hero, a veteran. I mean, what could you want more? She's great looking. I mean, she's like everybody else in Donald Trump's cabinet, brings so much to the table. And the very things that are her greatest strengths are the reasons that they don't want to confirm her.
Yeah, and also she clearly loves America. It's just extraordinary that this has been delayed so much. Now, let's talk about the situation in the Middle East. Naama Levy, one of the 4 female IDF soldiers released from Hamas captivity at the weekend, has spoken for the first time, saying, after 477 days, I'm finally home. I'm safe and protected, surrounded by family and friends, and feel better every day. During the first 50 days since October 7, I was most of the time alone. After that, I was captive with my fellow observers and citizens who gave me strength and hope. We held each other strong until the day of release and after it. But yeah, one can't even imagine what she and the other hostages have gone through. And I think it's a reminder, this is not over. There are still hostages being held captive, and we still don't know how many are alive or dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God these girls are starting to come home. I think it was extremely important to get them home. Honestly, when the enemy has your women, I don't think there is too high a price to get them back. I know most Israelis don't feel that way. They feel very worried about the terrorists who are being released from prison. I was speaking to somebody who was very close with a judge in the West Bank who put a lot of these guys in prison, and to see them coming out, it's very difficult to see. But honestly, Israel needs to figure out how to police these terrorists and how to protect its citizens. Getting those hostages out is unbelievably important. And I don't think anyone has to worry that Donald Trump is going to allow Israel to end up in a worse situation than before he assumed office. We've never had a president who is so pro-Israel. I think that he's playing the long game. I think he has his sights set on normalization with the Saudis. And I think that that's the lens through which Donald Trump is proceeding here. He wants peace in the Middle East. He wants an economic normalization deal with the Saudis for America, and he wants one for Israel. And that is going to take some really creative thinking about how to rescue not just the hostages, but the citizens of Gaza from the Hamas terrorists and barbarians who oppress them as much as they do the Israelis.
No, you're spot on, absolutely. And it was interesting, Batya, because President Trump has actually invited the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to visit the White House next week and become the first foreign leader hosted by the president. Batya, how significant is this? The Israeli Prime Minister, I've got to say, has all but been abandoned by Western allies at a critical time of need. Why do you think that Trump is taking the time to get him now over to the United States?
I think he is buttering him up to make a very difficult ask, maybe something about Palestinian statehood. Trump has a lot of leverage when it comes to Israel because he has been such a friend of Israel. And there are things he wants in return, things that may be difficult for Bibi Netanyahu to give him. And I think that's a great thing. I mean, sometimes your friends need you to give you the tough love. And there's nobody on this planet who can give Israel that like Donald Trump can. I think he's thinking really big. His first term, he got the Abraham Accords done, which, if that hadn't happened, God forbid, I cannot even imagine what the last 2 years would have been like for Israel. There's no way they could have waged the war that they just did against Hamas if they did not have the backing, implicit albeit, from the moderate Sunni Gulf states. And so you really have a different Middle East forming here, very much under the guidance of Donald Trump. And I'm very interested to see what he has planned next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be interested to see if that meeting goes ahead. Now, before we let you go, I've got to ask you about the transgender issue in the military. 6 trans members are now suing Donald Trump over that executive order banning trans people from serving. Trump, of course, signed the order claiming transgender people's sexuality conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honourable, truthful and disciplined lifestyle. Batya, I've got to say, I don't think that Trump will do anything, nor would he be worried about these 6 personnel suing him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The thing that your viewers have to understand is that what Trump is doing is dividing the LGB from the TQIA plus whatever. Trump is unbelievably pro-gay. In fact, he has just appointed the highest ranking out proud gay person in American history, Scott Bessent, to the Secretary of Treasury. Scott is married to his husband. They have beautiful children that they're raising in a beautiful home. Trump is very pro-gay, but he does not believe that the trans agenda should be something that is seen as on a par with the gay agenda. I think he very much sees the transgender issue in a very different way. Many people, I think, today are starting to see transgenderism as something akin to a mental illness rather than akin to being gay. And I think that the position that the administration is taking is that there are 2 genders. That is the view of the United States right now under this government. And that there is a difference between saying, we believe that every person should be treated with dignity and protected from discrimination, and saying that we endorse this as a worldview that we think should be spreading.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. But look, good on him, as we said, Batya, that he's taken control from the beginning. Batya Ungar-Sargon, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much, Danica. God bless.